I could have knocked Jake out, but the rules stated I couldn't use uppercuts or hit him in the face after the first round, but Tank will get him though.
Alright, you kids get to bed, I get the storybook.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis. Revenge for Mike Tyson. Chapter 1. A Legend Falls. The room was dimly lit, the flickering glow of the 82-inch flat-screen TV casting shadows across Gervonta Tank Davis's living room. He sat on the edge of his sleek leather couch, his jaw clenched and his fists gripping the armrests. The Netflix logo faded away, replaced by a montage of Jake Paul and Mike Tyson's pre-fight hype. A narrator's voice boomed dramatically, hyping the clash of eras. The young YouTube sensation turned boxer versus the heavyweight legend. Tank followed every second of the build-up. He knew Tyson was past his prime, but the idea of seeing the boxing icon knock out the clout-chasing clown, Jake Paul, was irresistible. A chance to see the sport reclaim its dignity. Yet, as the fight progressed, the spark of hope dimmed, because unbeknownst to Tank and millions of viewers, the fight was all cap. Chapter 2. The Fight Scene. By the fourth round, Tank's worst fears were confirmed. Jake's punches, lacking finesse, somehow seemed to faze Tyson. The referee appeared too eager to break clinches, favoring Jake's rhythm. Tyson, the same man who had once been a whirlwind of destruction in the ring, moved sluggishly, his punches pulled back as if bound by invisible strings. "What the hell is this?" Tank muttered, his voice tight with disbelief. He leaned forward, hands gripping his knees, watching Tyson's legendary aura disintegrate with every questionable exchange. Jake, with his trademark bravado, danced around the ring, taunting the veteran. The final round was the dagger to Tank's soul. Tyson, visibly holding back, allowed Jake to land an unconvincing flurry of punches. The bell rang and the judges delivered the unthinkable, a unanimous decision in Jake Paul's favor. Chapter 3. Tank's anger hits 1,000. The camera panned to Jake, standing triumphant in the center of the ring, a smug grin plastered across his face. Tyson, on the other hand, wore a polite but painful expression, shaking Jake's hand with forced cordiality. The commentators were already debating the fight's legitimacy, but the narrative was clear. Jake Paul had defeated Mike Tyson. "Bullshit!" Tank roared, launching the TV remote across the room. It clattered against the wall, batteries scattering on impact. His chest heaved as he stood pacing the room. His idol, the man who had inspired him to lace up gloves in the first place, had been humiliated on a global stage. And for what? A bag? $20 million, which after the blood-sucking government taxed that money and Mike's team got paid, he'd probably go home with 5 out of that 20. Tank grabbed his iPhone, thumbs flying across the screen. The tweet was raw, unfiltered, and electric. Gervonta Davis at Gervonta. "Jake Paul is a joke. That fight was rigged, and everyone knows it. Disgraceful. Mike deserved better. I swear on everything, I'll knock you out for him. Name the time, clown." For Tyson. He hit send and threw the phone onto the couch. Within seconds, notifications began to explode. Retweets, likes, replies. The boxing world had taken notice immediately. Chapter 4. The fallout Tank didn't stop there. Fueled by rage, he turned to Instagram, posting a photo of Tyson in his prime alongside a screenshot of Jake's smug post-fight celebration. The caption read, "Tyson built this sport. You don't get to mock him and call yourself a boxer. I'll fight you anywhere, Jake. No games, no BS rules. Let's see what you really made a boy." The tweet and post went viral in minutes, drawing reactions from fans, celebrities, and even professional fighters. Tank's phone buzzed relentlessly, but he ignored it. His focus was singular now. Jake Paul wouldn't just hear his words, he would feel them in the ring. Chapter 5. Revenge is a must. The soft hum of fluorescent lights buzzed over the worn-out boxing ring at Steel City Gym. Tank sat on a splintered wooden bench, sweat dripping from his forehead onto the faded mats below. In his hand, a remote control rewound an old YouTube video of Mike Tyson's fight against Larry Holmes. The static-filled image flickered on the dusty TV mounted in the corner. Tank's eyes were fixed on the screen as Tyson delivered a thunderous uppercut that sent Holmes sprawling to the canvas. The announcer's voice boomed, "And Tyson has done it! Avenged Ali's loss!" The crowd erupted in the background of the footage, and Tank felt a familiar swell of pride because he intended to avenge Tyson's loss to Paul the same way Tyson avenged Ali's loss to Larry Holmes. For Tank, this was more than just history. It was personal. Tyson had been his hero, the reason he first laced up gloves. A framed photo hung on the wall above the TV showing a younger Tank standing beside Tyson at a charity event. Tank's hand on Tyson's shoulder was trembling in the photo, though his grin was steady. He didn't just fight for himself, Tank muttered to no one but the empty gym. He fought for legacy, for respect. Now it's my turn. Tank's chance came in an unexpected way, a social media feud with the one and only Jake Paul. It started innocently enough. Tank, scrolling through Instagram after a long workout, came across a video of Jake Paul trash-talking Tyson supporters who were angry that the fight was rigged. Jake's antics had always rubbed Tank the wrong way. Boxing was sacred, and to Tank, Jake was nothing more than a pretender playing dress-up in the ring. Tank's fingers hovered over his phone screen for a moment before he typed, "Jake Paul out here with more YouTube views than punches that land. Stick to pranks, clown." The post exploded overnight with Tank's fans rallying behind him. Encouraged by the response, Tank doubled down. Jake Paul's training routine: 1. Post a video. 2. Post another video. 3. Repeat. "When's the fight, Jake, or do you need a scriptwriter first?" Jake, not one to back down, responded with his usual swagger. He posted a TikTok of himself sitting on a throne wearing a crown with the caption, "Who is this Tank guy? Another wannabe clout chaser." Next, the feud escalated. Jake's massive fan base flooded Tank's social media with taunts, calling him a midget king and making memes about his lack of fame. Tank, however, had the upper hand with wit. "Short kings punch taller," asked David and Goliath. But things boiled over when Jake and his brother Logan took the insults a step further. During a podcast episode, they mocked Tank's height openly. Logan joking, "Do they even make boxing gloves for his little ass hands?" Chapter 6. The Final Straw. The final straw came at Nobu, the upscale Los Angeles restaurant where influencers and celebrities paraded like it was a red carpet. Tank hadn't planned on being there, but his trainer had insisted on a celebratory dinner after a successful training milestone. The two sat in a corner booth, enjoying a rare moment of peace until Tank spotted them, Jake and Logan Paul, seated at a table near the center of the room, surrounded by cameras and laughter. Tank tried to ignore them, but the sound of Logan's voice carried across the room. "I'm just saying," Logan quipped. "He probably has to jump to reach the speed bag. Little punk-ass fake champ." The table erupted in laughter, and Jake chimed in. "Nah, he skips the bag and just jump ropes with shoelaces." Tank's trainer placed a calming hand on his shoulder, but it was too late. Tank rose, his presence small compared to the flashy room, but his energy electric. He marched straight to the Paul's table, locking eyes with Jake. "Say all that to my face, YouTube boy." Tank's voice was calm, but the tension in the room was palpable. Jake leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Didn't see you over there, Tank." "Maybe the waiter needs to bring you a child booster seat, bro." Logan laughed. That was it. Tank grabbed a sushi roll from their table and hurled it at Logan, hitting him square in the face. The room froze, and for a moment all anyone could hear was the roll splattering against Logan's designer jacket. Then chaos erupted. Jake stood up, shouting, while Logan wiped soy sauce from his chest, laughing in disbelief. Security swarmed in, pulling Tank away as Logan yelled, "You're done, bro! Done!" Tank didn't resist as security escorted him out. Before he left, he turned back to the Paul brothers, pointing both middle fingers. "You think this a joke? I'll show you what a real fighter looks like." Outside, the cool Los Angeles air hit Tank's face as he stood on the sidewalk, his trainer pacing beside him. "You just handed them the headlines they wanted," his trainer muttered. Tank smirked, his anger simmering down into determination. "Good. Now everyone knows it's personal." As Tank walked away, the buzz of notifications on his phone was relentless. Social media was already ablaze with footage of the incident. Hashtags like #Sushi Showdown and #Tank versus Paul trending worldwide. Tank's fists clenched. The world thought it was a joke now, but soon they'd all see the real punchline in the ring. Chapter 7. Finally, the fight is on. The viral chaos of the Nobu restaurant incident reached its crescendo within days. Fans and media outlets flooded Jake Paul's comments, demanding he back up his mockery with a fight against Tank. Jake initially laughed it off, posting memes of sushi rolls with boxing gloves, but as the pressure mounted, his bravado wavered. Even Logan started poking fun during a live podcast. "Come on, Jake. Are you going to fight the dwarf, or are you scared he's going to knock the ego out of you?" Logan teased. Jake finally announced the fight on his YouTube channel, but not without a catch. Sitting in front of a gaudy backdrop featuring stacks of cash, he smirked at the camera. "So yeah, I'll fight Tank. But let's be real, this isn't about legacy or respect, it's about entertaining my fans. So we're doing it my way." He laid out the conditions. The fight would be at a catchweight, forcing Tank to either fight heavier by bulking up or butt out. A smaller ring to limit Tank's mobility, 2-minute rounds instead of 3, just like with the Tyson fight. And the pièce de résistance, no punches to Jake's face. Tank's team exploded with outrage when they saw the video. His coach Manny slammed his laptop shut. "This isn't a fight, it's a circus." Tank sat silently, fists clenched. He didn't need to say it. He already knew what everyone was thinking. Accepting the fight under those conditions would make him look weak, but turning it down would be worse. Chapter 8. Tank's Dilemma. Later that night, Tank sat in the corner of his gym watching shadows dance across the walls as the moonlight poured through the windows. Manny joined him, a protein shake in one hand and a notebook in the other. $40 million, Tank, Manny began cautiously. You'll never see a payday like this again, not unless you take on someone like Canelo or Bud, and let's be real, they're not calling anytime soon. Tank didn't respond. He just stared at his hands, calloused and bruised from years of training. You take this fight, Manny continued, and you don't just humiliate Jake, you show the world what you're capable of, even with his clown rules. Tank finally looked up, his jaw tight. How? He's tilting the whole thing in his favor. Manny grinned and slapped the notebook onto the bench. Simple. We play by his rules, and still make him regret it. Suddenly, Tank had an idea. He knew he had a net worth of $10 million, which was enough for him because his lifestyle was that extravagant. Of course, he could use the extra 40 mil, but getting revenge for Mike was more important to him than 40 M's. Therefore, he decided to look like he agreed with Jake's rules, but after the fight began, he would slaughter him, forfeiting his share of the purse. Chapter 9. The Build-Up. The fight was officially announced with a flashy press conference at a Las Vegas hotel. Jake strutted onto the stage wearing a fur coat and sunglasses, flanked by Logan spraying him with his new Walmart body spray and an entourage of influencers. Tank entered quietly, dressed in a simple Lamar Jackson Ravens hoodie, his demeanor calm but lethal. The insults began immediately. Look at Santa's freaking elf, Jake said, motioning toward him with a dismissive wave. Tank is short, slow, and scared. That's why he agreed to my rules. He knows he can't win otherwise. Logan jumped in, pointing at Tank. Bro, you're so tiny, Jake doesn't even need me in his corner, but I'll be there anyway, just to watch you fold. Tank leaned into his mic, finally breaking his silence. I don't need your face to beat you, Jake. Your body's all I need. The crowd roared as Jake's smirk faltered for a moment. The months leading up to the fight were a whirlwind of training, promotions, and escalating trash talk. Tank's team focused on a strategy that turned Jake's rules against him. Speed drills to capitalize on the smaller ring. Bodywork combinations to punish Jake's midsection. Endurance training to overwhelm him in the later rounds. Meanwhile, Jake doubled down on the theatrics. He posted training montages showing exaggerated lightning-fast punches and staged sparring sessions where he knocked out his partners. Logan added fuel to the fire by releasing a diss track about Tank, which quickly went viral. Tank ain't got no money in the bank, just a wannabe gonna lose to Jake on live TV. Tank ignored the noise. Instead, he focused on his own training, releasing only one promotional video. It featured him punching a watermelon clean in half, followed by a single line, Jake's ribs are next. Chapter 10, Fight Night. As Fight Night arrived, the world was divided. Some believed Tank would overcome the odds and prove himself a true fighter. Others were convinced Jake's rules and taller height would hand him another victory. 6'1" against 5'5" was enormously huge. Tank stood in his locker room, wrapping his hands while Manny paced back and forth. The crowd outside roared with anticipation. Remember the plan, Manny said. Stick to the body, break him down, let him feel every second of this fight. Tank nodded, his eyes steady and focused. He whispered under his breath, this isn't just a fight. It's for Tyson, for boxing, for me. As the announcer's voice echoed through the arena, Tank stepped out of the locker room, ready to turn Jake Paul's circus into his downfall. The arena buzzed with anticipation as the lights dimmed, and the announcer's voice thundered, ladies and gentlemen, the main event of the evening. Tank came out first, solo just like Tyson did back in November, with Compton rapper Kendrick Lamar's They Not Like Us blaring from the arena speakers. He entered the ring and stood in his corner, his gaze locked on Jake, who came out of the locker room tunnel riding on a Santa Claus sleigh, steered by Logan, who wore a fat suit due to dressing up as Santa Claus. After making it to the ring, Jake pranced across it, basking in the chants of his fans. After the referee made the two shake hands, the bell rang, and the fight began. Appearing to be bound by the absurd rules, Tank held back at first. He danced around Jake's jabs, testing his reflexes but refraining from throwing punches to the head. Jake, emboldened by Tank's restraint, launched a flurry of wild hooks and straight punches. While many missed, the ones that landed drew cheers from the crowd. Jake raised his gloves to the audience, grinning as the first round ended. Too small, he shouted to the camera, igniting the crowd's energy as a made an NBA player gesture with his gloved hand, letting Tank know he was too small to compete with him. Tank returned to his corner, unfazed. His trainer, Manny, leaned in close. Let him have his moment. It's all downhill from here. Chapter 11, rounds 2 and 3. The storm begins. In the second round, Tank changed tactics. While still adhering to the restrictions, he targeted Jake's body with surgical precision. A sharp left hook to the ribs sent Jake stumbling, his cocky grin replaced with a grimace. The crowd grew quieter as Tank landed combinations, each punch drawing audible grunts from Jake. By the end of the third round, Jake was visibly fatigued, his footwork sloppy, his breaths labored. In his corner, Jake slumped onto his stool, gulping water as Logan yelled over his trainer, "You've got this, bro! He's just a fucking midget! Don't let him punk you!" Meanwhile, Tank stood calmly, breathing steadily. Manny smiled. He's feeling it now. Keep breaking him down. No mercy. By the fifth round, Jake was desperate. He threw wild punches, hoping to land a lucky shot, but Tank dodged with ease. During a clinch, Jake leaned in and hissed, "If you knock me out, you'll never see that payday. I'll make sure of it." Tank didn't flinch. He whispered back, "This ain't about money. It's about respect." As the referee separated them, Tank decided to finally say fuck the rules and dropped a devastating combination. A pump-faked left hook to Jake's jaw, followed by a thunderous right uppercut to the chin. The crowd gasped as Jake's mouthpiece flew out along with a bloody rope of saliva attached to a set of veneers that glinted under the arena lights. Jake crumpled to the canvas, motionless. The referee counted to 10, but it was unnecessary. The arena was silent, the once boisterous Jake Paul fans stunned into disbelief. Tank raised his gloves, his face calm but triumphant. The ring announcer's voice broke the silence. Winner by knockout, Tank Davis. Chapter 12. The Aftermath Victory Speech. As Tank stood in the center of the ring, a microphone in hand, he looked into the camera. His voice, hoarse but steady, carried through the arena. "This win isn't just for me. It's for the fighters who paved the way, for the Mike Tysons, the Muhammad Alis. Tyson taught me to fight for more than myself, to defend the soul of this sport. And tonight we showed the world what real boxing looks like." The crowd erupted in cheers. Social media exploded, with clips of Tank's emotional speech going viral under hashtags like TankUp and True Boxing. The post-fight interview took a chaotic turn when an enraged Logan Paul, still dressed in the Santa suit, stormed into the press area, his face red with fury. "This fight was rigged," he shouted, pulling out a canister of pepper spray. Before anyone could stop him, he sprayed Tank, who stumbled back, his eyes burning. Mike Tyson, who watched the fight from the front row and joined Tank in the ring after his victory, caught Logan with an overhand right to the face that cracked his nose like a hammer to a boiled egg. Blood and snot sprayed everyone who was within a foot of the ridiculous-looking loser as reporters scrambled to capture the scene. "That's for talking shit at the end of me and your brother fight, you little bitch," Tyson barked at the brother as he lay sprawled on the canvas looking like a drunk Santa. Within hours, Tank's victory overshadowed even major global events. News outlets called it a triumph for true boxing fans, while the Paul brothers faced ridicule for their behavior. Memes flooded the internet, with one of Jake's flying veneers becoming an instant classic. Tank's name trended for days, cementing his reputation as not only a fighter but a defender of boxing tradition. Tank and Tyson in his gym, the same worn bench under him, but the weight on his shoulders finally lifted. He stared at his idol and spoke, "We did it, Mike." Meanwhile, the Paul brothers plotted their next move. Logan teased a potential fight with Tank, while Jake hinted at a rematch. Despite their bravado, the world had seen the truth. Tank wasn't just a fighter, he was a legacy. The story ended with Tank standing in the center of the gym, a silhouette against the rising sun. He had avenged Tyson, honored the sport, and reminded a new generation what respect for boxing truly meant.